How's it going? I hope that you're having the best day of your life. It's been quite a long time since I've made a long form YouTube video like this. I've constantly been putting out short form videos just because, that's where people see most of the things when it comes to content creation. But I wanted to start making a few more long form videos just to get, if anyone wants to like binge watch anything of mine or kind of just have like these talking head videos where I'm just kind of spewing out my thoughts, talking about certain topics about health and fitness. That is the purpose of why I'm going to be starting to do or doing more long form content, because a lot of times we try to condense all this information when it comes to short form content, but sometimes just like letting myself spew out information that hopefully some of you will come across my stuff, or maybe I'll send it to you and you'll find it helpful. That is the purpose of me now expanding more into long form. And I feel like a lot of people, what they do with YouTube, they try to make all these crazy edits, everything nice and perfect. But for me, like, I just want to hit record and then talk about what I want to talk about. And the topic of today's video is just about who I am, what I do, who I want to help, and why I do all of that. So we'll get into it here. So who am I? My name is Luke Sauerland. I'm a personal trainer and online fitness coach. And I got into training because out of college, I got my degree in dietetics and nutrition at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. And it was funny because I chose that career path, but in the year that I graduated, they actually made it a law that you had to get your master's degree, which going into college, I wasn't really prepared to do all that. So to me, I wanted to get my degree and then maybe take a year off, think about going back to master's school if it made sense. I didn't know if I wanted to pour in the extra 30, 40, $50,000, however much it may have been to get my actual license to be a dietitian. But what I did was I decided to become a personal trainer. And in that time, I actually went through NASM. If anyone has seen the ads or the marketing for that, it's known as the gold standard in the fitness industry. But to be honest, it was a big waste of money. It did not teach me all that much, at least nothing that I didn't already know from my kinesiology classes in college. So I came across a certification company and mentorship company called Show Up Fitness. And that's where they taught a lot more about programming, anatomy, how to actually coach your clients, how to get them the results that they need, how to cater to them individually. So that's who I actually went through, or I guess I should say I went through both, but Show Up Fitness is their approach to training your clients. Like, that's what I use with my clients. So that's a little bit about me. Now, in terms of why I do what I do. So this was something that to me, I would just walk around everyday life and you kind of just see people that they're sad, or they just look like nothing's exciting in life. And of course, we all come across that, right? No matter if you're more of a happy person, energetic, like there's going to be times where you're lower energy, you don't really feel like doing much. But like I feel like we see that far too often, just simply walking around, right? Going grocery shopping. Maybe we're going to church even, or it's just like taking your dog on a walk on the sidewalk. Like, people aren't even like that friendly anymore. And a lot of these people, I've noticed, they tend to be like out of shape, overweight. Like, I look at them and I see that like there is so much more potential in them. And my whole philosophy is that we really have just one life, as far as we know, to live, right? So like, why would we spend our time not becoming the best version of ourselves? I used to be, I suppose I still am a pretty big Marvel fan. Although if anyone watches Marvel, the latest things, that it's not the greatest TV and movies out there. But anyways, like they had the concept of the multiverse, right? And I always thought to myself, like, if there was a multiverse, am I being the best possible version of myself with the actions that I take daily, with what I'm trying to do and accomplish in life? Or am I just okay with being like, okay, with not giving it my best, right? With not trying to get the most out of life? And I thought that, we have free will, at least I believe we have free will. Well, that's a whole nother topic. I can talk about that in a later video. But if we have free will, we should be able to make the choices that we need to make in order to become the best version of ourselves. Because like I said, we have one life, right? So why would we waste it away not doing that? Why would be okay with becoming or not becoming the best version of ourselves, of being less than what our potential actually is? So my thought process on that is I want to help lead other people, and I really market towards men because obviously I'm a guy. I want to help other men become the best version of themselves. Like I said, I see a lot of people just walking around daily life, and I'm like, you could be living such a better life if you were to get in shape, eat better foods, do the habits that you need to do, whether that's walking, whether that's like daily stretching, whether that's a mindset thing, praying, meditating, whatever that might be. You can do these things to make sure that you're becoming the best version of yourself. These people that I come across, they just aren't. And I feel like it is my responsibility to help people like this, maybe that's you, to become the best version of yourself. And I think this is the daunting thing about fitness is a lot of times on social media, you'll see these fitness influencers, or maybe they are coaches, and it's like their whole life is composed of the gym and eating clean and healthy and all the time. And I just want to preface with like, that is not how it should be. Of course, unless you want it like that, but if you want it like that, you probably aren't really even listening to this video. But that's the thing, like it shouldn't take like, a couple hours in the gym each time, like crazy meal prepping sessions and always eating clean to become the best version of ourselves. Like we should still live our lives the way we want to live it. And I'm a really big proponent of like still enjoying like the delicacies in life. I used to work for Lou Malnati's Pizza for like 5 or 6 years, and ever since then, I have loved pizza, right? I probably have it like once a week, maybe every other week, and I can't get away with it. But, I balance my diet with other things that are a lot healthier for me, right? I also count my calories so that way I know where I can fit in the foods that I love. And a lot of people have this, they have a stigma about calorie counting as it's controlling, or like, oh my gosh, I'm going to become obsessed with it. Like, I'll tell you this, like I don't count my calories year round. I usually count them when I'm trying to intentionally cut down a little bit or put on a little bit more weight. But if I'm kind of just okay with like maintaining, I have a good idea. I've done it for years. Like, and that's the whole point of counting calories is it gives you the understanding of what calorie amount is in the foods that you eat. Because I believe the statistic is that we underestimate the calories that we eat by about 50%, and we overestimate the calories we burn during exercise by 50%. So it's no wonder that there is an overweight problem in the United States here, right? So calorie counting, it's a great tool, right? But like I said, I love to enjoy pizza, burgers, everything like that. So without it, like, what's the point of life? It's just that we should not be always eating that. I'm a big proponent of the 80-20 rule, meaning that 80% of the time we're trying to get our whole foods in through our diet, right? 20% of the time, that's where we can splurge a little bit. Pizza, donuts, ice cream, that kind of thing. And when it comes to the gym, right, it shouldn't be something where you have to go like 5-6 days a week that a lot of other people may do, or maybe you have friends or in the past that you did that, right? Like now that you're an adult, we don't have the time to spend that many hours or that many days at the gym. Like it should be like 5 days at the absolute maximum. And I think 3 to 4 is like a really good in between that allows you to get like the best results without absolutely living in the gym. And a lot of times, like people will just do random movements, right? They don't really follow a program, or at least if they've tried, they only stick with it for like a couple weeks and then they fall off. Most programs are designed to actually do for a minimum of like 12 to 16 weeks. Right? And depending on where you get it or what coach you're working with, it could be even up to 6 months, 12 months. And if you work with them in the future, a lot longer than that. So sticking to the exact exercises, and of course, like it's not always gonna be the easiest thing because sometimes you get injured, right? But there's always a way to train around that. So if you've had a program in the past, or maybe you haven't had one, like stick to it. At least try one and stick to it for a long time. Stick to it for as long as it is designed to be programmed for those movements. And I think people, the thing that they struggle the most with about fitness and health is simply the mindset, right? Because I've noticed with a lot of my clients and just people in general, men in general, is we were all brought up on like, I mean, it always depends on the individual, right? But I think it's like, what is it? 70% of America is overweight. So a lot of us were brought up on, just eating all day, snacks whenever, right? Maybe we had like a Hot Pocket for breakfast, then we had a burger for lunch, and then it's pizza for dinner, right? Like we were brought up in the sense of like we're just fed these high caloric foods, and we never really learned how to get out of that deal, right? Luckily for me, like my parents, they still fed me pretty good food, but of course we would still have burgers and pizza throughout the week. But I was a very active child, right? I did sports. I did cross country, track and field, basketball, soccer, baseball. And when I worked at Lou Malnati's, if I was not a runner during that time, you can bet your ass I would have put on weight. But luckily for me, I kept my my output high, so that way I could take a lot in without gaining excessive weight. But the biggest thing that people struggle with is the mindset when it comes to food, because whatever you've been doing, if you're not at your goal, that means that there's something that has to change, right? And it always depends on the individual. Maybe that could be like your sleep. maybe you're only getting 5 to 6 hours, and ideally you need 7 to 8 hours, right? Because if you're not getting that full amount of sleep, that essentially leaves room for you to snack during the night. Or maybe it's like, what do they call it when you wake up in the middle of the night and it's like a snack time during that. I'm sure there's a term for that. I just can't think of that. Um, but when it comes to mindset, we just have to change it because we've been groomed to eat the way we've always ate, right? And if we're not reaching our goals, that means something has to change. That could be, like I said, your eating habits, sleep habits, walking habits, sticking to a program. And for a lot of people, it's kind of hard to change their mind about food. And I always like to say to my clients, nutrition and food in general, it's X's and O's. It's very simple in terms of, oh, this is this amount of calories, that has that much fiber, X amount of vitamin A, whatever it might be, right? It's very simple when it comes to knowing what foods to put in our mouths, in our mouths to get the results that we want. But that's not where it ends, right? Food is a very emotional thing because no one really ruins a diet at 9 a.m., right? Even if you eat a lot, right? It's not like you go over your calories by 9 a.m. What is difficult about it is at the end of the day, once you've come home from work, once maybe you've dealt with your kids, it's a very stressful time. Like, where does our mind wander to? We just want that craving, that like picking up, whether that's like chips, ice cream, maybe it's like pizza, ordering in, or going out to eat at a fast food restaurant. We tend to deal with our stress by stress eating, right? And for most people, we have to find a way to, I'm not saying you can't ever do it, because believe me, I do too. The other day, I just had like 5, what do you call it? Like the Reese's peanut butter cups, the Trader Joe's ones. Oh, they're so good. But right, like I'm not perfect either, but I wanted to tell you that because like I'm not going to be the kind of coach that will be, I guess, setting unrealistic expectations for my clients or for you as the viewer, because not everyone is, or I should say this, like if you see someone and they claim to be perfect and always tracking all this, like they're just lying to you. Like I said, I track deliberately when I know I should be tracking, but there's times in my life where it doesn't really matter all that much to me. I don't really care if I gain a couple pounds or lose a couple pounds here or there. Um, but I just wanted to preface with that no one is perfect. So I do not expect, and you should not expect yourself to be perfect as well. So that's the end of the video. Like I said, I don't want these to be like super scripted out, just me kind of giving value to you as the viewer, just letting you know about, in this video, who I am, what I do, and why I do it. And in the future videos, I'll probably be doing stuff about meal prep, about strength training, about programming, about like nightly routines, because I want to give as much value as I can to make sure that you can live the healthiest life that you can. Because like I said, my goal is to help other people become the best version of themselves, because what's the point in life if we don't? So hope you liked the video. Make sure to follow me on my short form social medias at TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, X, I suppose. It is Luke.Sauerland across all platforms. Of course here, Luke Sauerland, and I hope to catch you in the next one.